Would you mind giving us your an opening prayer, Bill?
Heaven, we humbly bow our heads before thee this evening in thankfulness for the many opportunities and blessings thou hast given us. We thank you for this meeting tonight. That will give us light and understanding and help us to understand our responsibilities and our capabilities. And we ask that thy blessing be with us, that we might be able to be prepared in the time of emergency and to help others to be so they can serve our fellow mankind. We pray for this blessing and do so humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So I had sent out an agenda prior to the meeting. If you haven't seen it yet, check your email because I probably sent it about an hour ago. And I guess I'll take
Why are there two of them, Terri?
One is the reference list, just so it wouldn't be a long document. And the first one is the agenda.
Okay.
It was all together at one point, but it makes 5 pages. And I figured everybody'd get tired of looking at it at the end. But just know that the reference list is for you guys to peruse because it is ongoing information and it does change from time to time. It's always there. And so I want you to be aware of it, especially as we get new members that come in. So I felt the need to keep resending that. So let's see. I'm going to take a quick roll. I see Mike Guyman and Stephen and Mickey. And hello, Wayne Bostick and Jerry Hansen and Robert. Oh, Ogden. Okay.
Yes, I don't think I got the email. I don't know if there's an opportunity for someone to forward it to me.
Yeah, who invited you then tonight if you didn't get the link from me? Who did you get the link from?
I got the link a while back from Mickey, right? Mickey, you had sent me the invitations to the monthly meetings.
Well, Mickey, if you have his email, could you put that agenda to him?
Yeah, let me get in and go get the thing. Hold on.
Okay, great. And Bill and Howard. And Stephen that I can't see. Is that Stephen Egbert twice or is that Stephen Fairbanks?
Stephen Egbert once.
Ah, okay, it
You're
is.
both here.
I see you. All right, super. Just taking a quick roll. So I got Richard Eason. And who is admin 155775? Anyone want to claim that one? Because that's what it's showing here. Oh, and the Stringhams, welcome. We've missed you. So glad you could make it tonight. And Rob Walk. All right, is Jason Torbenson on the line? Well, that was my stab at whoever admin is. So if you didn't hear me call your name, then it's you that I'm missing.
Well, do you see, you don't see Marquise Galaxy?
I see Marquis, yes, I've got you. I've got Lorraine. And I got the Stringhams, but there's one who's muted right now that just comes up admin 85775 with no picture. So just trying to figure out who is on our call here. But with that being said, you're going to still look for that, Robert. Mickey's getting it over to you. Job description. Oh, you know who's going to be joining us too is Beverly Blaylock. She's our social media specialist, but she had another meeting that she had to attend. So she's going to come in about halfway and then speak about her thing. But one of the things she wanted us to do was update the emergency response specialist responsibilities and also the communication responsibilities. She's going to be updating our website and wants to make sure everything is up to date. So I just sent her over those tonight. And in our minutes after this meeting, I will forward you those responsibilities. mostly it's just name changes that happen, like we're no longer public affairs. And when we first created it, it was in 2017. So now we're the communication council, right? And just taking some names out and just putting in the job description so it can be not specific to anyone. And anyways, be looking for that. And then Stephen and Mike Egbert, did you guys have a chance to submit anything to Beverly as well for communications updates? Not yet? Okay. All right. I know Beverly wanted to make the website live this month. So if you could get that into her right away, she would greatly appreciate it.
Terry,
Yes.
can you, Robert, did you get the email? Robert Ogden, did you get the email?
I think he's looking down. Not yet. Hasn't come through yet.
I
Terri,
sent it.
let me interject here. I'm actually reading a communication between Stephen Egbert and Beverly about the rosters.
Yes, about the rosters.
So that's communicating. Is that what you were talking about?
No, this is the outlined responsibilities when a person is first called to be an emergency communication specialist.
Okay, yeah, I've got some notes. I'm working on that, so I will try to get that to her.
Okay.
After we get done here, I'll wrap it up for my input anyway.
Great. I'm gonna pause a minute and plug in my laptop so it doesn't die here. All
I
right.
didn't get the
As
email.
long-
Thanks, Nikki.
Terry, as long as Mike Guyman mentioned my roster task, I contacted at least 10 of the 12 stakes and to confirm my rosters. There's a couple of stakes that is in the process of trying to contact while they have member tools in their hands. So I will be calling them after the meeting. I think it's, I can't remember which one it is. I'll tell you later on.
Well, Mike Guyman, you have a high counselor in San Diego over emergency response. I think that's the one Stephen is missing.
Well,
I
that
gave it
we
to
are.
him yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
I'm down to the last two,
Okay, great.
but I didn't print it out yet.
All right.
Stephen,
then-
you got the San Marcos text from me?
Yeah, I got the San Marcos text from you. It's really, I wanted to talk to someone from San Diego East and Carlsbad that has a member tools to make sure I've got the contacts right for the two people, the four people.
Steve, Richard Eason is with us. He's newly called from Carlsbad Stake.
I know it. That's what I
Okay.
want to talk.
Yay.
Here you go.
Welcome, Richard. All right. And let me ask the Stringhams while they're on the line, if there be any changes that we should be aware of in the San Diego mission presidency changes, or are both you and Sister Stringham, are you going to be there for a while? How long are you going to be there for? And you're still over emergency response?
You're muted, Brother Stringham.
We will be here until after General Conference in the spring. So
okay.
we have 7 or 8 months, eight plus months.
Is your mission same mission president? Same mission president, Merritt?
They will be here for two plus longer years. Yes.
Good.
He just started. One good thing that was done today, joint effort. The new apartment person in the mission office, they had all the missionaries bring their backpacks today from all of the apartments. They took out all the old, reloaded every backpack with all the items, the foodstuffs, the basics, and then all the missionaries took their backpacks back home today to their apartments. So each apartment for the whole mission virtually was updated in a 2-day period. And as senior missionaries, we met this morning and went through every single backpack. They took everything out and then reloaded it with things that were still in use They it was put back into the backpacks, but they took out everything that had expired, and it was quite a big effort and a costly effort. So they put some excellent work into it.
That's great. That's amazing. Especially, you know, with the pending weekend, that's good timing. Since we have some activity that may be coming up here. And just in general, as you guys have noticed, there's just been a lot of emergency type of activity happening all over that we definitely have eyes on right now. So let me just go ahead and continue with our committee updates. Just to, for those who didn't know, our September 16th scheduled in-person training had been changed due to the ladies coming over from is it the primary presidency? I believe it is. The general presidency is coming that same weekend, and they're using that same building. So we have switched our in-person training to be October 7th, still at the Mount Abernathy building, and it'll be from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30, but that includes lunch. So just be aware of that. And just wanted to remind, it's in the agenda that if you're a stake representative here tonight, but even if you're a ward representative, both stake and ward should be operating with an emergency response council. So it's not just you trying to do everything. And we do encourage those to happen every 4 months. So there's just a reminder that if you haven't done that yet, to please reach out to us if you're not sure what that means, or if you need any help or direction with that. But we would also like, for the in-person training, a list of who the current ERC members are. And I have an outline when I send tonight after the minutes, the emergency response specialist responsibilities list. It has on there forming an emergency response council, and it has everyone listed, or at least the leadership positions listed, that should be invited to that council. What we need is to be able to send invitations out, and Sister Blaylock has asked if we can make a list of who your emergency response council is, with names and contact email and phone number, and then she will send out an e-blast. But also be aware that if there are people that aren't on the list that need to be, that you can forward that invitation as well. So it's not necessarily meant that she's going to try and catch everybody, but as many people as possible. And I'm okay with redundant invitations. So if you could make me a list as soon as possible of all the members on your emergency response council and send it by email to me, and Beverly and I will work on putting that together. And then hopefully most of you have reviewed your stake emergency response plan, and we need updates to that, because I do keep a copy here in a master notebook by stakes. And since we've had a lot of revisions lately, and new stakes created, old stakes lost, I feel like every 6 months you should be updating that emergency response plan, if for no other reason than to renew the contact information, but possibly, you know, new scenarios that come around and how you handled it. Those probably should be recorded and put in there, just for the new person that comes behind you. So if you could update those and send them to me as well by email, that would be appreciated. Then on to what's currently happening. Let's talk about the Maui fire for a while. Does anyone have, hi Beverly Blaylock, I see you've joined us. Does anyone have connections in Maui and has been getting personal reports different than what the church is putting out?
We have personal reports. We have like 2 or 3 members of our wards there, and so they posted on Facebook the absolute terror that they were in while that was going on.
Yeah, and can you describe maybe why there was so much terror at the time?
Well, her story, she's on Facebook. I could always give her a name and you can just follow her story. But they had gotten, the power went off in the morning. And so since it wasn't going to come back on, they took the husband and the wife and the kids went to a beach, which you don't need power at a beach. And then while they were at the beach, I guess, when it was time to, the fires are supposed to be out, you know, the fires are put out. And then when it was time to go back in the afternoon, they could not get back in. I can't remember if it was equipment or if it was blocked. And so then they tried numerous ways to get back to the hotel because they did not have anything but swimsuits. And they ended up driving down the coast and spent the night at a Safeway parking lot with 300 cars parked there. And they said, fortunately, somebody was thoughtful enough to come by and bring blankets and pillows. Otherwise, the night would have been absolutely miserable. Then, when they tried to get back in the next day and getting stuck in traffic and not getting anywhere close to the hotels, they were instructed to go to the airport. They don't have any other IDs. So they spent hours and hours trying to get on a plane. Everyone went back, but the husband, he stayed for a couple of days and eventually made it to the hotel, picked up all their belongings and came home. So it was a disastrous vacation, but they survived. But if they'd been in the town, they may not have, you know.
Wow.
I
Okay.
guess because the power went out, they canceled school, so all the kids were home at the time. So they expect that there'll be a number of children that will be that will be found in the town.
Right. And so there's a chain of command that happens in a large event like that. In San Diego, I'll describe how it typically happens. And Beverly and I were talking about this recently. But if there's an emergency event, the mayor is notified and he is in contact with the police, and then the fire department and the emergency resources go out and they assess, you know, the size and event, the damage, possible damage, and, you know, basically give him a report of resources that they're going to need. And if the event is large enough, because there's activation triggers, they'll call in the Office of Emergency Services if it needs to go beyond what the police and the fire department can handle. And then the Office of Emergency Services has a countywide plan, and they activate that plan and open up the Emergency Operations Center. And they start calling in on their partners based on the needs as the event is unfolding. And the VOAD group that we ask our stake representatives to attend at least twice a year is your volunteer organizations active in disaster. And Stephen and I, as regional representatives of the church, we sit on that board, or we're not on the board right now, I think, unless you are, Stephen. I know I stepped down.
No, I attend.
And then we attend those meetings and we liaison in case the Office of Emergency Services activates the VOAD. And a VOAD may or may not be in cities and counties. It just depends if there's people to staff it and someone willing to run it. So we've had a very active San Diego VOAD and we participate in that. And we no longer do that self-deployment that we used to way back in the day with the emergency fires. There's just too much hazards to health and to claims as far as insurance and other things, MOUs or partner agreements that the city has with resources that come in to clean up and so forth and so on. So what we do as a VOAD partner is we wait to be assigned based on what we're able to bring to the table. And depending on the area that it's at. So we would typically reach out, if it was an isolated event in one stake, we would reach out to that stake representative, and Jerry Hansen knows this full well, and have you interact with VOAD and whatever their needs are. Of course, if it's multi-stakes, then we would have multi-representatives from each area contact VOAD and get those instructions. And then we follow what the county plan is. So in that same case, I had put some Maui information on our Facebook page for San Diego Emergency Response, and put an article that FEMA also now had been activated. If it gets beyond a certain dollar amount, then FEMA comes into play. And so obviously that is the case in Hawaii. And FEMA then coordinates the whole thing and works with the Office of Emergency Services and VOAD, and they all work together. So that is how it would work in San Diego. And I know that's how it's working in Maui because they have posted that information. But
Terry,
yes.
can I say something?
Yes.
One thing, if you listen on the news, you can find how frustrated the spontaneous volunteers are. They don't get, they collect stuff and then they're not allowed into the fire hazard area because they're kind of spontaneous and haven't been part of the system. So you hear that on the news all the time. These groups say, oh, we've got all sorts of things and we want to get in there and do that. Well, the government doesn't just let you go in anymore. And so it's hard to be a spontaneous. I don't know who brought the blankets and the pillows. I don't know if that was organized by a VOAD or if that was spontaneous. We love spontaneous volunteers, but the government doesn't like to use them that much.
You want to be careful that we're not part of the problem or creating a secondary problem. And so on a small ward level, spontaneous volunteers kind of still works, right? But when you get a stake or a community involved, and now you've got local government involved, then you are no longer, you become a spontaneous volunteer because you're not acting according to their already in place plan. And they get overwhelmed with stuff they don't need and have to put it in places that create another emergency because now they got a hazard pile, or whatever it is. So in most cases, cash donations is best to vetted organizations that are already in play in that area. I received notification today about such organizations. It's the Maui Foundation, I believe. And we have a foundation that's similar to that here in San Diego, the San Diego Foundation. And they are a grant, what's the word I'm looking for? They offer grants to nonprofits in the area, and they have lots of different divisions for emergency and for the arts and for all sorts of things. And so they have a clearinghouse where they are able to then take big donations and then put them to the places they are intended. So I know Maui is using their foundation for that, and I'll probably post that later on our Facebook page, just in case
Hey,
anyone.
Terri.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were finishing. I have a question. So in regards to these spontaneous groups, I understand the donation part because you don't want to create a situation where you have to then figure out what you're going to do with materials and so forth. But for those who want to donate manpower, how is that handled? Because I'm assuming that those individuals who showed up probably didn't just have donations. They probably wanted to be useful to some extent as well.
Yeah, you're always going to have a level of degree of that spontaneous volunteer. And of course, if you're the homeowner and you've been able to get back in, you're going to use your equipment and start, hacking down trees or whatever in your way, I'm sure. And maybe you want to be generous and your neighbors ask you to do the same thing. I mean, those kind of things are going to happen. But the church is working. There is a national VOAD, and the church has a voting seat on that VOAD, and wherever there is an active VOAD, the church calls people to be representatives of that VOAD. So we have a regional VOAD beyond Stephen and I, a Southern California one and a Northern California one. I know Maui has the same, and I know the church is working through the VOAD and organizing their manual labor. So we would come to VOAD and say, we have, congregations in this area, and they have, men with trucks or men with, picks and shovels, or what is it that you need? And then VOAD will get their marching orders from the Office of Emergency Services and plan it out, and then go to their partner organizations and give you specific things that you can do based on what you've already said you'll bring to the table, which is why we ask you as stake representatives to attend VOAD at least, once or twice a year, so that you can make those connections and that you can have a voice of, what it is that you can bring. And in most cases with the church, all we can bring is volunteers. We can't really offer cash donations. The church does that on a larger basis or through the storehouse. And so that goes to your regional self-reliance and welfare manager. And so that part we don't have to worry about as much. But the volunteers, certainly translation comes into it, language comes into it as something that we can assist with. There's all sorts of different areas they can use us, but it's definitely more organized.
Terry,
Yeah.
for example, Terry, when I was reading the church news, the missionaries were not allowed into Lahaina. And so they found another project, another fire on the island that wasn't being managed by and went off to help another community that was dealing with it. So they found an alternate use for their services to help free up resources in a non-critical area. Does that make sense? So you can be flexible, and you don't have to be the tip of the spear. You can be, you can find projects or things that are making it so the in group or the group that's being mobilized is not distracted from their task. That's what they did in Maui.
Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, like I say, there are those smaller events that Spontaneous Volunteers works for, but we have to be really careful with that. But likewise, we've talked in the past that, we don't do sheltering in our buildings. The chances of opening an emergency operations center is probably very slim. But I can assure you in Lahaina, those two buildings are being used as shelters. And that means they've had to establish an emergency operations center so that they have communication coming in through the community and the resource organizations and getting to the members that are being or the people that are being sheltered there. So these are things to consider, again, why we ask you to take a look at them. The church has provided links on how to open an emergency operations center. And I have that, if I haven't already sent it to you in the agenda, I will send it in the minutes. But we need to know, how would we set up if we had to be a shelter? And certainly, maybe not a long-term shelter, but a temporary evacuation point is the new catchphrase, a TEP or TEP, until safer and better evacuation shelter can be found, and then people could be moved off accordingly. So the chances of you being a TEP is probably greater at some point if we have an emergency here. So knowing how to put one together and who would do what.
Hey, Terry?
Yes.
Comment. In today's litigious society, and it's going on in Lahaina right now, the toxic dangers of first responders combined with the looting opportunities. Times have changed in the last 10 years on being first responders. And of course, the outfall today is the emergency chief of Lahaina resigned for health reasons. So he took the hit, the tip of his spear. So it's a different day for us. We got to be so careful. And the church is, like you said, is reminding us to not just go rush in now. We've got to be really careful who we partner with, just like you're saying, because of the liabilities and the legal ramifications, not only against us civilly, but as a church as a whole.
Yeah. And all those times that you think if you ever helped in a sifting, through the ash,
Fallbrook,
and the health ramifications that they didn't know about that 10 years later manifested. So now you can't go in anywhere unless you're fully hazmated up.
Right.
And yeah,
I was there with all the youth, and I've thought about that since then, that are we going to, some of them going to get cancer down the road because we were out there sifting for people's wedding rings in Bonsall.
Yep.
We felt good about it at the time, but we don't know what we were standing in.
Yeah. So all things to consider for sure, but let's move on. Any updates on the Coyote fire in Potrero? Last I saw it was up to 400 acres. So that was quite a bit more than even the Bunny fire.
I know the evacuation order still stands. I was just looking at it. The evacuation order still stands, and they have the temporary evacuation center already set up, but it's not contained.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and it even took the bunny fire, 2 or 3 or 4 days before it was completely contained as well. So, the good news is hopefully we're still not experiencing a lot of winds and we have a lot of resources to be on it. So then it's just managing the spread of the fire, right? And it just all takes time. How about the Hillary? Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry, who was commenting and I missed?
I was gonna say the temporary evacuation is in Pine Valley.
Yeah, Pine Valley, right. Perfect. How many of you feel prepared for the
And
rain?
the Hillary, this is a category.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say about that, Mike?
The Hillary is now a category 3.
Oh, it's gone to a 3?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Hillary is now category 3.
Great.
Yeah.
And as it moves up and eventually hits cool
Oh,
water, it will decrease as well. So, mostly they're expecting rain and maybe coastal surges in the sense of areas that are prone to flooding might get a little of that. I'm not sure.
How about a fire? Do you get fires from hurricanes too?
Oh, that's a good
Well,
question.
that's what Lahaina was.
In other words, it will be windy before
Yeah.
the rain
Yeah.
comes. So
And with
Yep.
that, the wind comes the power shutoffs, right?
yeah.
Well, that's
it'll
what
be-
Lahaina didn't do properly. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why the electric company stock's down, what, 30-40%. They're going to be just like PG&E and get sued.
Mhm. Oh my gosh. Okay.
The aviation channel that I use for my flying says that they're forecasting winds in this area as high as
I missed that. As high as what? Oh, I might have lost them altogether.
55.
Oh, 55. Okay. I had thought I saw 70 earlier, but if it's decreasing, that's probably decreasing too. So with that, what can you do as emergency response specialist? Look at your messaging. How are you contacting members? What are you putting out there? Connect them to the local and accurate information resources. Whatever you see me put up on our Facebook and website, those are vetted sources and you can feel free to follow and use their information. But I would say if you're involved in that stake that has the coyote update, how are you connecting if yet you have with members there? Is that Jerry Hansen?
I'm sorry, I was kind of half listening to what you said. I have a member that works for SDG&E. I was going to ask him if he's heard anything about PSPS on that Sunday, Monday.
Right.
I was kind of looking that up so I could report that back to everybody while it was on.
All right. Well, let us know if he reports in. But is Potrero in your area?
Yes, it is.
And so do we have any members in that area that we have to get messaging out to, or how are you staying in contact there?
That's a good question. And I haven't talked to my bishop. I haven't heard anything. Normally they would call me knowing that I'd be all over this. And as not being in the bishopric anymore, I'm kind of lose a little bit of sight of that. But I will call, as far as I know, we don't. The folks that would have been up there would have been in the Halmul ward, which was the ward that I was in. And when we disbanded the ward, I didn't see any members up there at that time.
Okay, it looked pretty sparse as far as population in that particular area. Although it did say it started with a structure fire, so I thought that was interesting.
I'll call my Border Patrol Elders Quorum president.
Okay.
See what he knows.
Yes, and that's exactly what we want to do. And then for the bunny fire that happened in Ramona, the interesting things that came out of that were, again, the Relief Society president was down in Scripps Ranch. The Elders Quorum president was, I think, in the event and managing his own property or whatnot. I think there was the Elders Quorum secretary that was communicating with us. The high counselor was in a sheriff's training, and so he really couldn't respond a lot, except for if he had breaks or whatnot. And so it came down to the stake emergency response specialist and the Elders Quorum secretary communicating back and forth. And then also I had contacted the Relief Society president and was getting a little information from her as well. And normally the chain of command would be in a larger event. The stake presidents would then report whatever information, or the bishops would report to the stake presidents. The stake presidents would report up to our self-reliance manager, which is Sister Jimenez. And yet in this event where it was smaller and she was very interested in keeping her eye on it, she was already plugged in and watching. So she was calling me to see what I knew. And then I was reporting to her that smaller event. So, you know, we've got systems in play for a reason, but again, you're going to sometimes find that will change depending on the event. Go ahead.
I got the notification early in the afternoon, and I was able to get a hold of Paul Spencer, who had already kind of he's the emergency. I don't know if he's emergency response or communication in the area, but he was already on it and sent me several different, you know, updates during the day. There were 3 members who had to evacuate, and they did enable their ward emergency plan with the local leaders there. And he just kind of kept me updated during the day, and I believe I sent a text over to you as well.
If we have these plans and people in play in the callings and whatnot, and are able to maintain current contact information, the way that ran was exactly right. You're never going to have all the people in place at the time of an emergency. They're going to be dispersed at work or out of town or, you know, wherever. And so you're going to have to go down the line, A, B, C, D, who's my next on the contact. And so, Mike, that was great that you were able to stay in contact with them. And that's great that they had a plan in play and they were enacting it. That's best case scenario for sure. So this is, you know, why Stephen Egbert and I work on this, is to help our wards be self-sufficient and be able to handle those emergencies. So I think that's great. One of the problems though with fires is this is maybe a good messaging to get to members to let them know, and it's probably not them anyways, but getting the message out there in general to the community is people are curious and they wind up throwing these drones out there to see what's going on. And then that interferes with the flight plan of the emergency resources, and they cannot fly if there is a drone in the area. And that was the case with CAL FIRE and several incidences. Again, and part of our messaging of preparedness are things to remind people not to do as well for safety and for the quickest scenario outcome. Also, there was one more thing, but now I've lost my train of thought on that. Oh, I know, Bill Snap. I know you have to go soon, so I'm going to address Escondido, but first I want to say that by now, especially with Marlon Griffin always reminding us to get that Ready San Diego app on our phones so we get those emergency alerts. The Watch Duty app has also come into play pretty heavily, and that's one that Mickey had been advising us to get on as well. And so if you haven't gotten the Watch Duty app yet for fire, CAL FIRE is monitoring that and updating it. And that's worked really well, at least here in San Diego for the local emergencies. And with Escondido, they had a flare up in Bonsall that, again, I got this notification first from Watch Duty app. And I'm following it and I see that they've closed northbound on 15. And it took me a minute to figure out what stake Bonsall was in, but then realized that where they were closing the freeway was in the Escondido stake, but Bonsall's not in the Escondido stake. And knowing, you know, Bill Snap is the emergency response specialist there, I figured that it was at some point probably going to impact members of his stake coming in or off the freeway, because eventually they closed the southbound lanes as well. They were able to quickly get that taken care of and open up those lanes by 5 p.m. that day. So I don't think there was a major impact there, but anything you want to add to that, Bill, and then report to us what you've been doing.
thanks to you, I now have that app on my phone. When you called me, I was sitting there fat, dumb, and happy and didn't realize what was going on there till I downloaded the app. So now I'm squared away. But I did have just one more question before I give my report. So the website, will that website have the temporary evacuation point information on how to develop that evacuation point?
So what we would use, again, we have an MOU with Red Cross to be a shelter, but we're not a good shelter place because of kitchens and shower facilities, right? But we can be a temporary evacuation point. And so it's really going to be up to your leadership. And Stephen Egbert, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have guidelines on opening a shelter anywhere on the church website. Anybody else know about that?
I don't think they want you to do it unless you're asked to do it.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
that's
it
a
really
state
comes down to
president
your emergency
talked to our
response
state
council.
president. Yeah, I talked to our state president about that, and he said he's very much open to that. But I just wanted to figure out what the procedure was to do that.
So the next thing I would suggest is maybe your council should take the Red Cross sheltering training. And that would kind of tie you to Red Cross in case they needed you, but you don't have to activate with Red Cross. And yet it would give you the understanding of what it takes to open a shelter.
Well, I don't open a shelter. We just want to open up a temporary evacuation point.
Correct. You're right. And so it's just a matter of, what you want to get out of it. But it's usually a 4-hour training is all I'm saying. So, I mean, you have to consider, again, in your emergency response plans, who's going to do what, who's going to activate it, what's the trigger, who's going to run parking, who's going to run signage, who's going to run placement. So there's a lot that goes into it that you don't think about, that training would help you understand more, especially when it comes to intakes and keeping track of people. Yes, Stephen Egbert.
I was gonna say, also registration, you gotta keep track. People come in, you gotta keep track of them, and.
Yeah.
Terry, Lorraine just posted a link on the chat to the church website that lists this information on this topic. Exactly.
Great. Thank you. Lorraine is great. I think she's having problems with her audio again, but
how do I find that listing?
Yeah,
that she just
in the chat there. Do you know how to access your chat?
I just clicked it. Okay. It's going to be over here. Right. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, she has a link that'll pop right up for you.
Okay, I got it. Thank you very much.
Copy and paste it someplace.
Listen, I'll give my report because I know I'm going to make everybody else get behind in the meeting if I don't do that. First of all, I wanted to recognize also Howard Cottom's on with us this evening as well. He's our assistant, been doing a great job. And matter of fact, I'd invite you, Howard, after I finished, if you have any input that you want to give, feel free to fire away. We were going to have our emergency response exercise this month because we have a state conference this month. And so we were going to take a message from the state presidency to all of the members of the state through our emergency response exercise. But we got down to the fact that we had only actually 2 wards that were prepared, but not to the full extent. They were prepared, they've got their maps done, they've got their districts signed out, but they just didn't get the neighborhood captains assigned yet. And so without the neighborhood captains, of course, it's not going to function. So we're going to take 1 more month. So we're going to shoot now for the following month, see if we can do that. And we're going to ask the state president to give us a follow-up message of any challenges he wants to give us from the message he delivered in state conference. So we still have a message from the state presidency to give. I just found out that we have a new ward emergency response specialist from a ward that we have never had a response specialist from. So we're going to meet with him this coming Thursday too. And so we're basically in our Spanish speaking ward is basically on the Manana syndrome. We keep on trying to have a meeting with them, but the guy always goes out of town. So, but he's anxious to do it. So I think we'll have him online. And when we do that, then we'll only be 1 ward out of our stake that's not prepared for the exercise.
That's great.
So I think with another 4 weeks, we'll probably be in line. Howard, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it. I think that's good.
Oh, and I just want to make one interesting comment. We have one ward that the bishop wants to do the mapping by ministering brothers. And of course, we want to do it by emergency ministers. And so emergency ministers are geographically located, and the regular ministering brothers are assigned by the bishop, and they can live miles and miles away from the families they have to contact. So we have one bishop that still wants to do it by the ministering route, and we're going to have to try to go through the stake president, see if we can get that changed around to the emergency ministering route, and then that ward will probably be ready to go too. Then we just need some support from the bishop there.
And your challenges are very similar to, you know, what we experience. I mean, out of the, 12 stakes now that we have, Stephen Egbert?
Yep.
I think, you know, only about 7 of them are on board working actively their emergency response plans, or have people called, or maybe they have them called, but, you know, they haven't been active in that calling. So, you know, it's always going to be some will and some won't. And we just have to keep praying, you know, about our own responsibilities and what the Lord wants us to do. And those that get on board, great. And those that don't, just kind of understand they probably are pieces that need to move around still and get in play until the right pieces, you know, click with the plan and all of a sudden get on board. And
so we'll be doing our exercise in September, just like you will.
Okay.
Except we'll be reporting to a higher source. No, I don't know. We don't know exactly where we're going to be reporting to yet. We're going to find that out.
Well,
so,
our big activity is in October, just so you know, not September. So.
Oh, I thought yours is in August. We're in August now. September.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, okay. I thought
the Great Shakeout is October, I believe, 19th.
Oh, okay.
So, and that is kind of just when the state does it, right? And we coordinate around that. So we understand, because of state conference and general conference and everything, that not every ward is going to be able to conduct their exercise on that day. So a lot of wards will do it slightly before, slightly after. So just hang on to that report. And then when it comes time to give it on close to that date, then we'll send that report up to Sister Jimenez, or go ahead and send it, have your stake president send it to her, and she'll just keep it.
Okay.
So, but that would be great. And, you know, once again, even if no stakes, no wards participate in your stake communications exercise, still report that.
Uh-huh.
If one person participates, report that. Whatever the participation level is, the idea is we need to at least make sure our chain of command reporting system works. So if we don't at least enact that, then we won't know. So.
Quick question.
Go first.
What date did you say that for the Great Shake? October what?
I believe it's 19th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, but it's usually the third Thursday.
It's a Thursday, state of California, Thursday.
Lots of churches do it on Saturday.
The Saturday following that Thursday would be
or the Saturday before. The Saturday before.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Yeah. Yeah, either one. Marquis, did you have something you wanted to say?
That was my question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's depending on your priesthood leadership. Again, this is part of what you should be discussing with your emergency response council for the stake, so that everybody's on the same page. So, and again, even with your, the way they want to administer their plan, whether through ministering families or through emergency ministers, you kind of have to know that leadership feels inspired to do what leadership wants to do. So we have to let them do their thing. And then you see, does that plan work or not work, right? And again, usually by experience, people learn what the best methods are. And so if it's so be it that some people have to wait for that experience, then it's so be it. But we want to be careful, unless your stake president feels strongly about it. You know, if you have two different reporting methods, then that's not necessarily a problem. It's just not perfect with the plan. And that's something that's good to report to Sister Jimenez, that there were two different reporting methods. So, all right, let me go on. I want to give Mike Guyman a minute for communications. Anything you want to add about where you're at with your communications?
Well, Lorraine was asking if there is a handout for how you set up block captains. And I do have a PowerPoint presentation that goes through and shows one way of doing it using the LDS.org membership app that has a map of everybody in your ward, and it goes into detail of a pretty simple approach to it. One of the other things that I'm working on now in our ward and adding to it is that I see a need for group captains within those block captains. And we've kind of been approaching this with the first thing that you do is, texting, and that's like the minimal approach. The next thing you do is trying to, radio contact everybody. And the final thing that you do might be, well, it is boots on the ground, because Elder Clark has asked every ward in the mission to have a boots on the ground program. And the more I work with this, and the more I look at it, the more I try to get radio into it, because it's really important. But it really is the last line. So we kind of have that boots on the ground at the bottom, and it really should be put up at the top. That no tech, I'm calling it no tech boots on the ground, where you walk to the place, you find out what's going on, then you walk back. And if you have a group block captain, you go to the group block captain and you give them that report. And then the group block captain takes it to the bishop. Now at the ward level, that's all you have to do. You take that, get that information to your bishop, then, basically most of the members are concerned, you're done. However, the bishop then has a responsibility to get that information to the stake president. So we are looking at this and trying to find a way we maybe get the youth involved in this. If the distance is far, you have young people and they can walk there, get have a pair of young men, and maybe have them set up. So really looking at, I'm really convinced that the reason Elder Clark was inspired to put this boots on the ground in place is because it is the last resort. It is the thing that will work without technology. We're writing paper and pencil, we're walking, we're delivering messages. And from there, we have to get it to our area representative and to Sister Jimenez. And at that point, I think we're going to have to rely on radios. I don't know of any other way we're going to do that, but it simplifies the whole radio thing. We need like three people to be able to get this information to your radio, and maybe, because everybody's already walked it, and when we can get it and compile it, then we have to get it to Elder Clark and to Sister Jimenez. So radio is still involved, but it's at that final level, that final push. We're not going to walk to Fontana to get that information to Sister Jimenez. We might, I don't know. But anyway, that's the latest update, and what we're looking at boots on the ground right now is a no-tech version should be the first things you put in place, a no-tech version of boots on the ground.
Yeah. With that being said, though, if accessibility permits, if you can bike it with a bicycle, that's great. If you can, have a smaller, apparatus that gets you around, use what is available to you at the means. But, knowing that you might have to physically knock on someone's door is,
well,
the
yeah,
goal.
You don't have to walk. You can ride a bike. I'm not too keen on electric bikes for obvious reasons. If your battery's dead, then I don't know. I never had one, so I don't know how easy they are to ride when you don't have a battery.
Right. All right. Beverly Blaylock, thank you for being patient with us and joining us, because I know you came off another meeting as well.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so humbling, really, to be involved with this organization. And I just feel this weight of responsibility that all of you, I'm sure, feel as well. So I'm really glad to serve and be part of this group. For some reason, my image won't stick, and so can you hear me okay? Is my voice coming through okay? All right, well, okay, good. All right, well, I have three topics that I want to talk about related to social media, and specifically our website. One is the bones of the website. The second is the the material that's on the website that is for our upcoming training, and then the shakeout. So 3 things. And so what I think I can share my screen. I don't know if you have to give me permission, Terry, but
Do you have that permission, Mike Diamond? There, yep, there you go.
do you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So when I was asked last November to help with the website, I thought that it was going to be just, you know, a little bit of posting for Terry here and there. And then, you know, if you ever start doing a room remodel or something, and then you find like a bone, one of the studs is broken, or there's something that you have to take the wall out, and then maybe there's something you find a leak, and then so basically I've been working on the bones of this website for quite some time, and that's not anyone's fault. Basically, it is just that it was used a lot. And over time, just like your closets and your cupboards, it gets cluttered and you get redundant stuff and you get things that need to go to the Goodwill, right? So with what you see here is just the temporary landing page for our website. The reason it's temporary is because I'm still struggling to get permissions lifted so that I can make changes to the address bar, the main one that goes across the top. And so, but the thing that we did that was critical was it took a long time for us to figure out who is it that we serve with this website. And so we finally came up with the fact that we serve steaks, and a steak kind of is representative of a community. We serve wards, which is like a neighborhood, and we serve families, which is like our members. And all the things that we do are really on our website is to provide the resources so that stakes, wards, and families have enough training that's specific to San Diego. The Provident Living website that the church has is wonderful, but that's a global website. Ours is specific for our area. And so as we go along, you'll see this front page change, and I can't change it until I get the back pages all done as well. But we are focusing on stakes, wards, and families. Many of the pages that we have on our website are going to be static, because you can realize that the common core of emergency preparedness and emergency response and emergency, before, after, and during, there are proven techniques that don't change a lot over time. They change here a little bit, there a little bit, but not lots of changes. But if you just reflect back on the conversations that we have had this evening, all of those snippets of information, little bits of information that are specific to us, that is what is important for us to be able to get to when we've been called to a new calling, or when we're trying to respond to an emergency of some sort. So if at the bottom of our website are these resources, and I'm specifically looking at these categories, because a category is like a post. It's like a very short topic. And what most of our website is going to be are these posts that are specific to our region. So for example, I'm going to click on this one that is Regional Emergency Response Training. And what that does, by clicking on that, it goes through our whole website and it brings up anything that has to do with training. And so for 2023, we've got our emergency response training that's happening, that's coming up on October 7th. We've got our great shakeout. We've got some old things there that I need to move down, and we've got our quarterly exercises that came out a long time ago when we first started this project. So if I click on this first one, this emergency response training, this is where we will be developing the materials that you will need when you come to our training on Saturday, October 7th from 8:30 to noon. And so the topics here may change. You know, the agenda, we've carved out a little bit of agenda. We don't know if this is the final one, but if it changes, we'll be changing it here. We have on here who should attend, which for those of you that have attended in the past, make sure your communication director is also, your state communication director is also invited to the meeting. And you can see it's just all of your stake, basically anybody on your stake emergency council and anyone on your ward emergency council. And then over, you know, on the right-hand side, I'm going to put some useful, this stop, drop, and hold on is kind of the reason for the shakeout. Of all the things that the shakeout is doing, they're wanting people to be able to stop, drop, and hold on during an earthquake. That's one of their big promotional things. And then, you know, based on what is developed for you for the training, we will have links here that you can use to help promote and so forth this whole activity. So this is an example then of a post. This is a one-off thing. This is specific to us in San Diego, and this is what we're planning to do. One of the things too, I'm going to go back to the other one because here's the Great California Shakeout. And honestly, I loved listening to the different variations that you are planning for the shakeout. One of the first things to do is to try to register, and you can go to the Great Shakeout and register as a faith-based. We're already registered as a faith-based organization. And I'm going to take you there right now. This website from California is, this is a form for faith-based organizations. If I go back to one of the other, maybe just let me go to the home page. Just shakeout. So here's your registration. And right now, when you click on registration, you would register you can register as an individual. You can have all of your members register, or you can register for your ward. And what happens is that this lets you be counted in this great shakeout option. And so we are the United States. We're California. And then I'll put my email in here because I've registered.
So it says Colorado, if that makes a difference.
Did I do Colorado? Evidently, it didn't make a difference. I might get something different coming up here. It probably will, because we are part of the faith-based organization. So it might not pull us up as a faith-based organization in Colorado, but maybe. But anyway, sign up for the Great Shakeout. That way you'll be able to get notices and all of the things that will help you to come up with things. And I wanted to get to the resources.
This is what she said. I just want to say, so this will be just another reporting opportunity where we can, do it, like she said, individually or by organization of wards or states. And just gives an opportunity to connect with the state, give that reporting information that they then can use, as they plan future events as well.
Right. And you can see that globally, on October 19th, there's over 11 million people that have registered to participate. And it's not just people, it's agencies like schools and that type of thing. But if you look at the resources link, this is where it gets to be just really amazing because, and I'm going to get us to the United States, and oh, there's oh, maybe no, hold on.
There's California.
Do you see California?
Yeah, down by, yep, no, we're on it, go back up. One,
There
two,
it is. Because they're different. As soon as I clicked, I thought, oh wait, those aren't the resources that I'm used to looking at. So there's all kinds of drills and safety guides. Just when you just come through here, one of the things I wanted to do is show you some of the posters and flyers. And that's part of my job as a social media specialist for our council, is that what I will be doing is providing either posters or flyers that can go to your stake social media specialist, and you can use them too if you wanted to create things, or to go into your elders quorum and relief societies and let them know what's coming up. This on our website, I've got this draft, the Great California Shakeout, and it says update your member tool information, check your 72-hour kit, know your stake emergency team members, and respond to your text or knock at your door, whether your booth's on the ground. And I really like the idea that we know that some stakes have had lots of reorganizations and can't do the full boots on the ground activities, but they can definitely do the stop, drop, and hold, and they can do the ministering, whether it's the traditional ministering or the physical ministering. And I love the idea of sending the members a message from the stake president. I think that was just really, really good. So with the shakeout, we are going to hold on just a second. I need to just check my notes. We're going to be providing you with, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be providing you with materials that you can copy and either hand out or email or put on your stake or ward web pages, so that people and Facebook pages, so that people can begin to have a little bit of information about the Great Shakeout. Now I want to go back to, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but I wanted to go back to our training that we're planning to do. And when we come down to the bottom here and we look at all the people that we want, this year we're going to use Sign Up Genius in order to help everyone register for the training that we're going to have on October 7th. And so Steve gave me a wonderful list of email addresses for many of the people that we would want to reach. So you'll be getting an email. It will be coming from Terri, and it'll give you an opportunity to sign up for training. And the main reason we want to do that is so you have lunch. That's one main reason. And then also just for seating and arranging our tables and everything for stake participation. That will really be helpful. The purpose of the training on the 7th is to, kind of get things finalized for the Great Shakeout on the 19th. And then don't forget that after you do all of your activities, Terri will have another meeting like this to kind of do a debrief and how did things go, the session. I think that what I wanted to do here is to give you an opportunity to ask any questions, and then invite you to go to the website. It's sdpreparedness.com. You're going to see lots of places where there's little things that say in under construction, and every time you come back, it's going to look different because there's a huge now that I know exactly what I need to do with it, I'm just really excited to have this site really functional by the time we have our October training. So please give me feedback, suggestions, and when you come across something that you think, whoa, this is really good, we would like to have everybody know this, please forward it on to me. So any questions?
I would just like to say, Beverly, also you have created a calendar.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we'll be able to post, if you know of events happening in your area, let us know and we will post it there. And then if you ever need to send out messaging, you know where to go back and grab it, or tell your wards where to go and look at the information. So just wanted to make you aware that calendar was available, but it'll need input from you guys as well. So that whether that's in this meeting that you let us know and then we follow up, or off, just as things come up and you want to contact Beverly directly, feel free to do that.
That's gonna be one of the best websites in the church for emergency. Anybody seen one better? Well done.
I'm just really, I'm finally just really excited. It took me a while because when I first opened it up and looked, and it was just so full of lots of stuff.
Yeah.
I was just not sure how to organize it and how to get it, but I've got a very clear vision now of what it is. And that's the hardest part of any design project, is knowing exactly what you want to do. And I'm there. So watch for good things.
Beverly, you are hard to keep up with.
I'm sorry. I know I wear my
Okay.
teeth out here.
All right, well, for the sake of time, let's move on. But if you do have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll try and address them as we go on. But with that, let me just follow up from the agenda. I had it already out there, but consider reposting any information that we're putting out there in your own stake or ward websites or Facebook pages. And, search, spend some of your time searching maybe for things that are going on in your area, and whether that's other organizations, emergency response type organizations or faith-based organizations, just see what else is going on and how we can connect community and members together and post those. Always when you go to a website that you like and you want to follow for information like Brush Party Fire Line, they have a North County and an East County for, again, those fires. Even Watch Duty has its own Facebook page. Make sure when you go on to those kinds of things that you like it and then follow it so that you're getting updates from them. And again, forward any information you feel would be valuable for your stake and ward members, including the apps that would be good for them to have and follow on their own as well. Okay, so with that being said, I want to turn some brother and sister Stringham. You kind of already gave us a little report. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Just a 10-second one.
Yeah.
They redid all the backpacks today. They're all the emergency backpacks, and I mentioned that earlier. And we have all of the apartments designated. The only thing that needs to be updated on that is a few have been deleted and a few added. We need to get that most up-to-date listing.
Elder Stringham, I had been talking to Sister Jensen about getting us a list of senior missionaries that are in our ward boundaries too, because we don't have that. So I don't know if you're involved with that, but it would be
yes,
good for every ward to find that out so that
we are that's coming out on the list also.
Thank you so much for the great work you do.
I know through the experience that was shared from the Monroes in the Philippines, it was kind of a constant work with the missionaries to get them to use the backpacks appropriately. And, we realize there's going to be times where they're probably going to eat some of the food or drink the water that's in there, but they take everything out and use it as a closed backpack instead. Are you finding those kinds of problems as well, or what are your experiences there?
No, actually, 98% of the backpacks have been excellent. And they have been tagged shut with a little zip tie that says emergency backpacks only. So actually, it's been excellent, the use of them.
That zip tie sounds new, because that would have probably been good information for the Monroes to have used as well. That's awesome. And then what kind of procedures do you go over with the missionaries if an emergency were to happen? What are their next steps?
Every single companionship has a card, and it's posted in their apartment. In the case of an emergency, they have the card right there in front of them.
Okay.
They were asked to go through it in their companionships. Whether they did or have in the last 6 months is a good question. But every apartment has an emergency response card. When I say card, it's 8.5 by 11. Both sides have information on it. And it's the steps of what to do if needed.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So with that going on, is there any county agency news that anyone wants to share? Stephen, did you go to a VOAD meeting? Was there even one this month, or was it dark this month?
It was dark this month, not a VOAD meeting this month.
Okay.
I went to a fire, I guess that was a fire, there's always a monthly fire
Safe Council
meeting, and this one was on how to make your community fire-wise. Fire-wise is not hardening your community. It's hard to do because you got to get everyone to buy into it, but it's probably the only way you're going to get any kind of insurance or any kind of relief on insurance possible.
Yeah.
You know.
And so that's kind of what I had on the agenda as well. SDG&E, just know with the advisory this weekend, there'll probably be some power outages. They'll always shut down areas with high winds specifically. And then insurance, everybody's going to be affected by insurance eventually with more and more companies leaving the state or not wanting to write new policies or whatever it is. That there is so much that they're trying to identify to help the homeowner reduce their possibilities of having a fire, and they'll start looking at giving you bonus or credits or discounts on your insurance policies if you follow those guidelines. And a Firewise community is one of them, but it does take, and a community could be 5 houses, it could be 10 houses, but it does take everybody's buy-in and following that protocol. So, but that's one of the only discounts I notice on insurance going on right now. And if you need more information on that, you'll eventually find that on the website when that gets built out on that part. Sister Jimenez isn't with us tonight, so I don't have any regional news to share with you other than, again, with the small event in Ramona, the Bunny Fire, she was in contact with me. And I thought that was interesting because I didn't think she would be in contact with me. But I will always, on a small event, I'll probably reach out to the state emergency response specialist or high council. I reached out to both in Poway. When it came to the Bunny Fire, even though it was in Ramona, it was in the Poway stake. And I reached out to them first and then went down the line as I needed to. So those chain of commands were very helpful, and having correct contact information was very helpful, up to date. So with that, then you've just got your events coming up. The only 3 that I'm aware of is one in Poway Stake in Ramona, Mike DeGraw at the library this weekend. And I don't know if you were able to forward that information on that out to the Ramona wards and your contacts there, but if you haven't, if you could, that would be great. Especially on the heels of the Bunny Fire, because it's all about fire, wildfire preparedness, whatnot. Escondido, SDG&E is having their wildfire fair up in Valley Center. So Bill Snap and Howard, be aware of that and forward that information out. That'll be at Bates Nut Farm. And then September, I think it is 23rd, your Escondido Fire Station number 4 is having a water and fire extravaganza of some sort at the fire station there. So I will be sending those in the minutes as well, so that you have the actual digital. And I sent those on to Beverly Blaylock, so she could post them and have them for your social media specialist or the website or whatever needs to happen there.
Terry?
Yes. Mickey.
So our area, Elfin Forest Harmony Grove, are also going to be doing a, let me see, wildfire preparedness fair on the 9th of September. They're going to do an equine kind of a clinic for people that have large animals to know how to evacuate them. But it will be that I think that starts at 9, but the wildfire fair starts at 10, goes from 10 to 2.
Okay.
And that's our fire safe council that's doing it. Our town council, I think, is working with them. Our CERT group is going to be there. So it's not church related, but it's still open to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, when you get the bandwidth, putting these together on a stake level or, you know, a community level, we're willing to help you with all of that. And by now, you know, through VOAD and everything else, we have all those contacts to bring people in to make it a bigger event. So whether you attend your community one or you build one yourself, being involved in one is the goal there. So that would be great. Awesome. Anybody else have an event in their area to report? Okay, then let's just go down the line a little bit for the individual stake reports. Jerry Handsome, you kind of reported already that you're working on contacting people for Potrero. Anything else going on besides that?
Not at this time. By the way, I did make that phone call, left a message for my SDG&E person.
Okay.
So if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. And Mickey, was there anything else on top of the fair that's going on in Del Mar?
You mean Harmony Grove?
Yeah, I'm sorry, in the Del Mar Stake, but Harmony Grove, yeah, area.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, that's not a church thing.
Right, right.
No, but I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, have you had any success putting together that emergency response council yet?
Oh, yeah, we have one in the stake and I attend all their meetings.
The one that you put on.
You mean, which one do you mean?
So an emergency response council where you're inviting the priesthood leadership and everybody to attend and you're discussing the emergency response plan and the drill and how all that's going to work together.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the communication council.
Oh, no.
No.
But that's good that you attend the communication council. That is definitely one of the things. But if you could organize,
I've been in contact. I've been trying to even. John Morrison is really busy. He's our high council rep, and I've been trying between him and Dion Travers, I think he's our first counselor in the stake presidency. I've been trying to get even a meeting with the ERS in our stake, and it's sometimes like, you know,
yeah. Well, you know, I would throw out a date and, you know, secure a place in the building and invite everyone to come. And not everybody's going to come. I mean, Mike DeGraw, you know that firsthand. You just invite, and whoever shows up, you work with what you have and you keep moving forward. So that's the way I would, you know, try and make it happen, because trying to wait for everybody's schedule to match up isn't always going to work for you. So be thinking about that, because at some point you need to update your plan and get everything ironed out there. All right, so with that being said, Stephen Fairbanks, what's going on in Imperial?
We have a statewide, sponsored by the Relief Society. We've got a emergency and preparedness Saturday in a week. Right now we're preparing for Hillary. They're saying we could get 5 inches of rain, which will actually put us underwater.
That I know.
We'll wash into the Salton Sea with 5 inches of rain.
Yeah.
We're hoping we don't get that. And usually the forecasts are double what we do get. And
even
this
2.5 inches is often perilous.
2.5 inches is perilous, yes. And also, I'm finding greater success with the ladies in the Relief Society in organizing our emergency communications, boots on the ground. We're having some success there, and the ladies are much more responsive than the men are. So we're going to go with what we got.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. Do you guys like put out messaging on how people can prepare for these upcoming rains, you know, sandbag or things like that then?
Yes, we do.
Okay. All right. And then before that, you had a displacement of migrant workers because of that, right? So how do you prepare for that looking forward here?
You know, we don't really have migrant workers in our membership, so
you let the city handle that.
The city handle that,
Sure.
like we let the city handle the homeless.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
But we have had some break-ins in our parking lots in the last 3 or 4 months. So there's lots of concerns that we have in the state.
So you're working on security then as well?
Yeah, we are. We're working on that also. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Jason Torbenson has been working on that in the San Diego stake as well. So confer with him if you need some insight.
Thank you. I will. Very good.
In San Marcos, Marquis, how is things going there?
Yes, I got 3 things to report. First, 3 things to cover quickly. Beverly, thank you so much for the reference material you have given me. They've been truly helpful. Number 2, Mike, you sound like Casey Kasem. I just figured that out this evening. And 3, we have a new, I figured out we didn't have enough Stevens. So we have a new Stephen Holmes. We finally have a emergency response specialist for the San Marcos stake. And he is the gentleman right there with the pristine background. And we are rolling along with these. It's like pulling teeth, but I'm working on getting these college.
Mr. Holmes.
And his wife is right there too. His sister Holmes right there too.
You might know me as KJ6 DRZ on the radio.
All right, I was copying that down. KJ6, what is the call sign? The last
DRZ.
You better,
I check in Sunday and Tuesday evenings, so.
You better do that phonetically for me. Is it Delta, Romeo?
Zulu.
Okay, got it. Well, thanks for coming on board. I'm glad to have you here. And if you could put your contact information in the chat so that Stephen Egbert can capture that. I think he likes 3 points of contact, so your address, your email, and your phone number. That would be awesome. And so this has been like drinking from the fire hose tonight, your first meeting with us. How has that experience been for you?
Pretty good. It's just I'm gonna have to get used to it.
Yeah. Well, again, hopefully the website and resource material there can, guide you on first steps. And I know Marquis has had a little bit of training on that. And so I think he's probably shared some of that with you. And then of course, any questions that you have, you can always reach out to Stephen Egbert or I, but that's why we come together once a month too, is to share information. So glad to have you though. Thank you. Great. All right, Wayne Bostic.
Yeah, overall, Terry, we're doing reasonably well. I got 4 wards that have all the colleges in place that are doing quite well, and boots on the ground and so on. I've got 2 wards that we're getting the colors going. So I got promises, so I'm going to. I do have a 4 wards that are solid.
Okay. So it's kind of hard to hear you over the radio going on in the background too.
Tonight, as the dental climbs to a. That was our theme music for tonight.
Let me update you again. Yeah, in Center East, we have 4 of our wards that are doing quite well. They have all the colleagues in place. We're doing the booster ground counting and so on. I have 2 wards that we don't have all the colleagues yet. They're bringing up the rear, but I get promises that we'll go get there. Just sometimes it takes a little while to get the momentum going.
Right. And, please, everybody, don't get frustrated if the, emergency drill comes up and you don't have things in place. Work with what you have. That's all any of us can do at any time. So I'd be grateful for the ones that have put it in place, and they'll lead the way and be that example for the others. And it'll come along, but we have to just keep working at it with patience.
I'm so happy all the help we get and the direction we get, which that makes it much easier. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So who haven't I talked to yet? Lorraine, you still can't queue in. Yes, you can.
Yes, you
I'm here.
Tell us about Temecula. Now, Lorraine sits in on us because she's not getting information out there. And so we certainly want to share what we have with our neighbors. What's going on in your area, Lorraine?
Well, our state emergency response specialist finally started asking all the wards for their plan. So he keeps sending emails. I sent him the one for our ward, but I guess some wards are still not sending them in because they're trying to create a state plan. So after they dissolved the committee before, there was already a plan for the state, but I guess they're starting from scratch again. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a big plan for the state because I know the gal that you were working with on that. She was extensive.
Yeah, so I don't know what they did with all that. But our ward has it, and I don't know how other wards, but.
Right, which is important, everybody, I think, to realize again, as callings change, we want to be able to make this stuff, it lives somewhere on a Google Docs or something where other people coming in that are starting from scratch can go and get caught up to speed right away instead of having to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, I have it in a Google Docs, and I also, like, for our ward, I keep a binder in the clerk's office that I keep updating, so it's there. But and I told the bishop he should have one at home because if the building gets destroyed, you gotta,
yeah,
better to have, what is it? 2 is better than 1.
Yeah.
So
Terri, if I could make a little comment here, and we're talking about the plans. One of the key words, if you read the instructions from the church, is to make simple plans. Sometimes we get very, very elaborate with them, and then they're hard to follow and hard to implement. So if you're in a position where you have any input and you're involved in drawing these up, try to look and see how you can make things simple and clear. And I always like in plans, part of the plan, if it includes who does what. In other words, if you're an elders quorum president, it should clearly list your responsibilities. Because sometimes it's hard to sort it out. This is what needs to be done. This is what we do next. But it doesn't necessarily let people know who's responsible for it. So keep it simple and make it clear and make sure that everybody understands what they're responsible to do in an emergency.
I think Mark Davis was the one that advised us, to have that cover bullet sheet, with first steps and who to contact. And then behind it, you can, fill in the details a little bit. And, but, if nobody, if it's the primary secretary, that's the only person available, and she goes and looks at it for the first time, if there's too much language and, technical stuff in there, her eyes will be swimming and she'll not know the first steps really and get confused. So that first sheet bullet point and, up-to-date contact information, I think are going to be crucial. So good. Anything else, Lorraine? Lorraine also runs the group page for San Diego Emergency Preparedness, and she puts a lot of information and regularly monitors that. So again, go to the Facebook page and then the group page as well for different variety of information and postings that you can certainly share with members on preparedness. Is that all, Lorraine?
Terry, could I share something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so because of the rains that are coming, I'm going to share my screen, and that's it. You can see this is what we have as the post for flooding. It's from December 2016. So this is an example of me needing, digging in and finding out who has the best authority information about floods in San Diego. So I'm just going to see if anybody has that. Send me content. I can spend a lot of time researching, and I do like that because I do learn a lot. But anyway, I just wanted to share that I need to update the website about floods.
Okay. Good to know. I do have an update one of all the sandbag locations in the county. And I posted it on my Facebook page for emergencies, so you might be able to just pull it off of there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then who haven't I gotten to? Brother Griffin in Penasquitos.
Well, we're working with the state presidency and also state presidency, I guess, over emergency response, and also the High Council to get them to get their emergency council together. Once they get theirs together, then the wards can be able to work with their ideas. But that's our biggest thing. I had a question about for the gentleman that's out in El Centro. I guess he's having emergency fair. Maybe he can get a hold of the maybe the agenda from the sisters that are putting that on, and give it to you, and you can forward it to us.
Okay, yeah, we'd kind of like to see the bones of that, if you wouldn't mind, Brother Egbert. Not Brother Egbert, Brother Fairbanks, sorry. That would be great. I don't know if he had to leave.
He left us. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can reach out to him and ask for that. Not a problem. That's good. And then how about Carlsbad? Brother Eason, welcome to the party. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Well, I'm new at this, but I'm supposed to be meeting with the state president in the next couple of weeks to see what they want. I have some ideas to present to them. I've contacted all my wards, especially those that don't have a ward rep, to try to encourage them to find one. And I'm also trying to set up to get my ham license. And been going through some material to catch up on all that's going on. I would like to get the link to your website that you keep talking about, so I'll send you an email on that.
Beverly, can you put that in the chat?
Yes, I will.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just trying to get organized more than anything else right now and get the wards to respond.
Excellent. Okay. That sounds like everybody's had some really good progress. I feel like I've gotten to everybody except for Holmes. Who is S. Holmes?
We spoke to him, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, he spoke with me. Brother Holmes or Steve Holmes.
Oh, that's right. You're with the San Marcos.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Steve, have you been sustained?
I have not.
Because this is news to me, and I was telling Steve Eckberg earlier, oh yeah, we don't have one yet, and then Marquis said, oh yeah, we do tonight.
We sustain you.
Yeah, we sustain you. Absolutely, good man.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that this weekend. We're gonna be doing that this Sunday.
Okay, so this is breaking news, Terry. Your meeting gets breaking news ahead of the High Council sustaining.
I'll put that on the website right away.
There you go.
See, Rob and I live just a block away from each other, really.
We're partners in crime.
I can see this.
You got a good man in Stephen for that calling.
That's awesome. All right, well, just some ideas again in putting together things for your stake. I know in the Poway stake, we did the picnic with the chief. It's definitely something if you ever wanted to just even invite your stake members. And you could do a potluck dinner and invite the fire department to come and just get information from them. They can talk about home hardening and defensible space, and we're happy to do it if they've got people willing to sit and listen to them. So that was pretty successful. In the past, we've done it with no food, and we get maybe 20 people to come, and this year we had 125, and that's citywide. So it seems a small number compared to the 50,000 that live here, but 125 people with families that came, and we made it fun for them. So, but
Terri?
Yes.
Our Fire Safe Council was trained by our fire department, and they'll come out and actually go around your house and tell you what plants you might want to get rid of because of their fire issues. And they can talk to, look at your house and say, you need to enclose this, you need to put a screen up here, a better screen. So that works really well. I was one of the guinea pigs of it when they first started it, and it works great.
And so if you do a group meeting where you're just doing general information, then they can share with that individual. We can come to your home and do these inspections. So if they have the bandwidth for that, that's awesome. Not every fire station has that bandwidth though, but I know it's something they work towards as they fill out their positions. But being involved with the Red Cross and helping with their smoke alarm installs is again a good way to interact your ward members, stake members with the Red Cross, and again getting them involved in a preparedness action that could translate into again motivating them to do either their own bit of just even smoke alarm or go to that next level of preparedness for their own families. But they have those ongoing all the time, and you can find those on the Red Cross website. And Beverly, that's a good place to look for event information to post as well, because they're always looking for the community in the areas they go to that they rotate around the county with, and get volunteers to help them. And then they pair volunteers with Red Cross members, and CERT members usually go out with them as well, and install these alarms. So, and it usually is, a couple hour event. It's 2, 3, maybe 4 at the most, but they usually tackle an area like mobile homes or something that's very specific. So they have a geographical area that they're working on. Obviously, not obviously, but any type of first aid training, CPR training you can bring to your members. We work with AB CPR, and they've been a real good company, but they'll, charge per member. So unless you have a grant to cover it and make it free for everyone, it still is going to be about a $55 charge, but that's because it is a 2-year certification. And then they remind everybody when that certification is coming up. And so they track you, but they're a great resource for information as well. And then, of course, the ham radio trainings that you could offer to your stake members through the San Diego ham classes is another opportunity. So all different things you can do. It doesn't always have to be a fair, but just be thinking of different ways that you can get your members involved with some level of preparedness. And with that, are there any other questions? Robert, did we blow your mind? Are you okay? Any final comments that anyone has that they want to?
I would like to make one.
Yeah.
Before we sign off individually tonight, you might want to take a look at the chats that are there, because there's some information there. We've had a lot of good information in the chat tonight, so
which is perfect.
Yeah, before you sign off.
Do you know how to capture that information so that we keep it?
Yeah, I'll capture it, but we don't get many visits there.
Yeah, I know I've kind of been monitoring on and off, but you're right, I didn't go back and visit, so perfect. Oh, perfect. Sister Holmes, your contact information too. That's great. So thank you everyone for participating. And again, as we wind down towards the in-person training that'll be coming up first, we'll be getting those invitations out to you. Again, update and list for your emergency response council. with their contact information so that we can use that as part of our invite send out. Right now, Sister Blaylock only has our high councils and our emergency response specialists, maybe our communication specialists. So we'd like to build out our list a little bit more. We could use last year's list if we can find it, but I guarantee half of those will be callings that have moved on. So I think the best way to start is getting that updated information from you guys. So if that could be your action item, I would really appreciate it. And then just email to me when you have that ready. We'll want to get that invitation out by, I think, the save the date anyways, by the beginning of September, don't you think, Beverly? And then the final invitation maybe a couple weeks before.
Yes, I think that using the whole month of September too, because we'll be adding names to it, and we can send out multiple different invitations to different groups and have them go on and sign, and then we can sign up, and then we can track it, and then remind them, and lots of options there. Yeah, starting in September.
Terry, this is Steve. Maybe next month we're going to meet on the third Thursday, so that'll be a couple weeks before we do this. Do you have any thoughts as to what we're going to be doing at that time? Are we going to be reporting on what our plans are, or what would you like us to be thinking about the next 4 or 5 weeks?
Well, if again, we could get those emergency response plans for the stakes updated and sent out, or put in place, and send me a copy of them, that would be great. I would love to be able to give that to Elder Clark, and so he has an updated view of that. And then the invitation list, of course, for the in-person training. And I think those were the most important things that I was asking for right at the beginning. Yeah. And then I would just say, keep working on building those callings that are empty right now. And putting your emergency response council together and having a meeting would be awesome. I know that's one of the harder pieces. But really it is as simple as, you setting the date and time, and then inviting everyone to the table and getting who you can to attend. Do you have any insight on that, Mike DeGraw, successes on your emergency response council?
We met again, and the biggest thing I guess that came out of the last one was we were setting up a text network of emergency response people in the ward, so that something happened, we could working. I've had a couple other families join the radio network as well. Families who aren't like block captains, people who just wanted to be involved with the getting emergency information radio.
Yeah. And so again, if you call the meeting and 2 or 3 people show up the first time.
Ward.
Go ahead.
No, I think we've had at least 6, 8, 10 people every time.
That's great. But you got to start somewhere and then build on from that, so don't be afraid if you get low numbers the first time. Just work with what you have and keep moving forward. And if you have a consistent schedule, then they'll know to expect it, and maybe they can participate on a higher level. So, all right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and thank you for everyone for your comments and participation and sharing. I hope this has been helpful. I know it's kind of been a long meeting tonight, but we appreciate you, and we'll see you back on September 21st. And hopefully you'll have some more progress happening and things just keep improving. So with that being said, let me ask for a closing prayer for tonight. And if I could have Howard Cottam, could you say that for us?
Sure. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to have met this evening in our emergency response meeting. We're grateful for the information we've received, and for the participation, and all those who've worked so hard to disseminate this information and help train us and get us to the point where we can adequately provide for these events that may occur. we pray that we might always be inspired in all that we do, that we might accomplish the things that thou would want us to accomplish. And we ask for these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. So have a safe
Good night,
weekend.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.